I didn't watch
They
it.
missed that field goal.
Those 8:30 starts are killing me.
I couldn't. I didn't watch it all. I said I'm going to bed. I said I can only hope they win. I just can't watch it. I'm too tired. So I knew I'd be here tonight, and then it'll be a long day tomorrow. No, I'm just gonna.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Town of Goffstown's Selectmen's Meeting of September 12th, 2016. At this time, would you please join me with the Pledge of Allegiance of the flag, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So tonight we have a couple of announcements. The first one is going to be with Cheryl Ann Bullock, if I said that right. Okay, one to two of you come on up to the front over here for me, please. And you can give a brief description, and you can give your
Sure.
little scenario.
My name is Cheryl Boluk, and I'm the tax collector for the town of Salem. I'm also the vice chairman of the New Hampshire Tax Collectors and Town Clerks Joint Certification Program Committee. And the program is an integral part of the New Hampshire Tax Collectors Association's ability to carry out its mission, which is to collect and disseminate information necessary to enable the tax collector to successfully understand their responsibilities and to competently perform their duties in conformity with all the pertinent laws. This is a 3-year program comprised of classes which are 1 week a year for 3 years, and it features topics designed to meet the requirements for designation as a certified tax collector or a town clerk. And these topics encompass technical as well as legal and professional issues. Each year, the program offers a scholarship to the attendees. Stephanie Bodwin, the tax collector for the town of Goffstown, won the scholarship this year for her drawing an essay for the topic assigned to the attendees of this year's class, What Certification Means to Me. And at this time, I will ask Stephanie to read her essay. This is the drawing that she submitted, and she wrote the essay on the back, and she's going to read it right now.
All right, so I decided to draw a picture because I always enjoyed art and doing crafty things. I was in an art club in high school when I went to Goffstown High School. So my drawing is based on my interpretation of what I thought the New Hampshire Tax Collectors Certification Program and Association meant to me. Here I'll explain my drawing. I drew a scene showing a garden of many different flowers growing, and you'll see in my drawing full-grown flowers, flowers that just started growing, and seedlings. These flowers are being watered and catching rays of sunshine. In my drawing, the sun represents to me the New Hampshire Tax Collectors Association and its key members who play an important role in helping the flowers grow. The sun shines down of all of its knowledge on the flowers below, providing them with the resources, information, and experience to become the best they can be. The watering can showers down droplets of water to the flowers, representing the resources, classes, and speakers that shower us with information and give us the tools to help us learn and become better collectors and clerks. In the garden, there are new first-year seedlings, sprouts, and full-grown flowers who are the more seasoned collectors and clerks. The full-grown flowers are always there to lend a helping hand to the others still growing. My drawing is meant to show how we all continue to contribute and work together to help each other grow and become stronger. Without this teamwork, our association and certification program would not be the same.
Thank you, Stephanie. And at this time, I'd like to present the town of Goffstown with a check for $260 as a reimbursement for Stephanie's expenses for the certification program.
Thank you very, very much.
Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations,
Thank you very much.
Stephanie.
Congratulations, Stephanie.
Congratulations.
Yeah, you can do a motion to accept.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
you.
So I'd like, at this time, to have a vote taken so that we accept that $260 scholarship. So anybody like to make a...
Motion to accept the $260 scholarship from the New Hampshire Tax Collectors Association and deposit it into the general fund.
Second.
Motion made by Collis, seconded by Adam, to have the $260 scholarship donated into the general fund. All in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Stephanie, good job.
Nice
Thank you.
job, Stephanie.
Thank you.
Thanks.
The $500 donation TV, they're not here. Are they
They're not here, they won't be here.
Okay.
You want to do the acceptance?
Yeah, we'll bounce back up, we'll do the acceptance. I just didn't want to hold these guys here for quite a while, but, all right, so we're looking for the acceptance and corrections of minutes from 8/22/16, 8/22/19, public and non-public minutes. Do I have a motion?
Motion to accept.
Yes, seconded.
Motion by Alan, seconded by David. Are those for the both 8/22 and
Yes,
29?
Both 8/22 and 29, public and non-public.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Do we know, Sue, what time the $500,
Oh, they are not coming tonight.
okay.
This is just, we have received a $5 donation to the GTV revolving fund from State Farm Insurance on behalf of Scott Gross. He designated GTV revolving fund for this purpose, and we need a motion to accept it.
Make a motion to accept the $500 donation from State Farm Insurance and deposit it into the GTV revolving fund.
I'll second that.
Motion made by Collis, seconded by David. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. The ayes have it unanimously.
And thank you to State Farm and Scott.
Um,
And then at 2C, there was a Greater Bedford Woman Aid newsletter that came out, and there was a nice, I just printed a portion of it because it mentions one of our employees, a note of gratitude from a recipient of assistance, the reason why we love the impact and potential of GBW. To whom it may concern, since last April of 2015, I've been dealing with 2 eye surgeries and a neck surgery this past October 2015, which has left me with permanent nerve damage in my left arm. I've had to reach out for help in a variety of places to keep a roof over my head. Goffstown Welfare Office, the Episcopal Church, and fuel assistance. And now you wonderful people have helped me with my electric bill with the help of Evelyn Redmond, welfare officer here in Goffstown. I'd like to thank you so much for your help in this time of need, respectfully, and God bless. Anonymous. So I thought that was nice that Evelyn got
Thank you very much.
recognition.
Now, we have several road updates that I'll read. The first one deals with the Gorham Pond Parker Road area bridge. It's dated September 12th, 2016 for immediate release. The Goffstown Department of Public Works announces the closure of Parker Station Road Bridge for repairs and rehabilitation. This closure will be effective starting Tuesday, September 13th, from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. while work is completed. There will be absolutely no through traffic, and that is no through traffic underlined and in capital letters, past the Gorham Pond Road during this bridge closure. All vehicles, even local traffic, must use the Route 114 Riverdale detour. Please follow all signage, drive carefully, and expect delays. Excuse me. This notice and detour map are posted on the town's website at www.gofftown.com. Click Traffic Advisory on left-hand side of page. Please contact Megan Terrell, Town Engineer, at 603-497-3617, extension 280, if there are any questions. Thank you for your patience. And I presume this is the map that'll probably be on the, there's a map here that'll be on the website that, that you'll be able to see. The next one is from Adam Jacobs, Town DPW Director. It says, "Good afternoon. This is a Black Brook update on Phase 3 for the project dated 2/9/2/16. This will likely be the last project update for Black Brook Road for this year. This week, the crews worked on finishing loom and seed, layout signage, and the new all-way stop intersections at East Dunbarton Road and the mailbox resets. Today, the crew is working on base paving driveways and around drainage structures. The paving contractor's schedule did not allow them to return as we had hoped. They are now set to arrive on Tuesday to pave the 1.5 inches of asphalt driveways, in addition to areas that are receive asphalt berms, caps, or code curbings. I expect to remove all detour signs on Tuesday afternoon. The pavement marking contractor is set to return to town in the next 2 weeks and paint if all goes well. The wear course paving is final phase, will be performed in summer of 2017 to allow any possible settlement or seasonal heaving to show itself before the final layer of asphalt is applied. If we've done our job properly, the spring heaves should all be eliminated. It's been a pleasure working with your neighborhood, and if you have any lingering questions or concerns, don't hesitate to ask. We will be sending out post-construction surveys soon. Your feedback would be much appreciated and help us in our future projects. Thanks again, Adam Jacobs, DPW Public Director Work.
If I may, Adam, the Tuesday he was referring to was last Tuesday, or was it tomorrow? Tomorrow, thank you.
Thank you, Dave. The next one, okay, again from Adam Jacobs. This is the Worthy Hill Road project update. This is dated 9/2/16. Good afternoon. This, again, will likely be the last project update for Worthy Hill Road this year. This week, the crews worked on backfilling behind the curb and berm, ADA, warning plates, and other sidewalk tie-downs, finished loom seating, finishing paving of driveways and sidewalk, restorations of the staging area under the power lines, and mailbox resets. Final area of seed and street sweeping will be accomplished this afternoon. Still to be done, street signs will be replaced where necessary soon, where necessary soon, and the pavement marking contractor is to set return to the town in the next 2 weeks to paint the lines as well. The wear course paving is the final phase and will be performed again in the summer of 2017, pretty much basically as I read on the last letter, to make sure that there's no extra heaving or any other additional problems that may apply or show up. And again, it's been a pleasure working with the neighborhood, and if you have any questions lingering or concerns, please don't hesitate to ask. We will also be sending out the postcard survey soon for your feedback. Much appreciated with your help in future projects. Again, thanks, Adam. The last one, this one is the Glen Ridge Maplewood West Side project updates dated 9/2/16. Again, this is from Adam Jacobs, DPW Director. Good afternoon. I was on site this morning to check in with the Manchester Waterworks, and they are making good progress. The main line installation is complete and tested, and they began swapping over house services to the new public main this morning. It looks as though they will be complete by the middle of next week. Following hot on their heels will be Parks Construction to begin work on the sewer main replacement. Sewer anticipates 3 to 5 days for the project. Also beginning soon will be the installation of the new gas main by Liberty Utilities. They may begin early on Maplewood if they can avoid the sewer work on Glen Ridge. I have also asked Eversource to survey a few of the trees that are either on the road edge, unhealthy, or leaning over the road. Hopefully, they will be able to assist us in removal and save some money in our budget. The town's portion of the work is tentatively set to begin on Tuesday, September 13th, which would place the completion date at roughly the end of October. I'll keep you posted if anything changes. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. Have a great weekend, Adam. Thank you very much. Would you please convey to the guys, tell them great job on the projects, great work.
A lot of work.
I think I got all the letters, Sue, huh?
I think you did.
We've gone past 6:10, but we'll do a quick public comment. Is there anybody here for public comment this evening? Sir, would you come up front? Please sign in and state your name.
John Hines is my name.
John Hines.
Hines.
Good evening, sir.
Hi. Just a quick sign in. Just a quick comment and a request. I live at 12 Honeysuckle Lane in Goffstown, and I'm commenting about 2 stop signs. One is I live on Honeysuckle Lane. It's like when I come from Sully's, I go down Maple Street, and when you go Maple Street up to the top,
Yep.
then you turn right, and there's Honeysuckle. So all that whole area is new. So when you're coming down Maple Street, there's an unnamed street on the, that intersects Maple. There's no street sign. I don't even know the name of it. But anyway, so it's just you know what Maple Street is,
Yep.
through all the rocks. And there's this little unnamed street that comes out here. Now, there is an all-way stop sign there. So there's a stop
Is that Smith? Would it be Smith?
Smith Road is what I'm coming down. Thank
Okay,
you.
all right, yeah, just.
You're right.
Just so that I'm in the right,
I should have written it down. You're right, thank you. So you come down Smith Road, you're coming down Smith Road, going towards Maple.
Okay.
Thank you for clarifying. And off Smith Road is this one street. You guys all know the street I'm talking about?
Stub?
yeah.
Ben Circle?
Yeah, Bend Circle. yeah.
Okay, all right. Anyways, it doesn't seem to be a circle, but whatever, it's that street.
Yeah.
So, and there's all-way stop signs, so there's a stop sign for that little street and 2 stop signs on Smith Road.
Okay,
So, my question is, why the heck is it there? My estimation is, some high and powerful guy is on that street, and he told, bragged to his neighbors, I'm gonna get us a stop sign. Because in all the time it's been there, when I come down Smith, I always stop, but I have never seen any other cars. So, I've never seen a all-way stop when there's only one little side street. Now, for example, on Honeysuckle, intersecting Heather Lane,
yep,
there's not even a stop sign, which is fine. I mean, don't need one. But I'm saying it goes from one extreme to the other. So that's clear. My simple request is, I think could almost be a traffic hazard having people just stop there. So I don't see a reason for it, so I'd love it to go away, unless there's a high, important, powerful person who
So
paid
there-
big time.
So there's how many stop signs at Ben Circle and Smith Road?
3.
it's 3.
Three.
It's always stop.
Great, you guys know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
All right.
I drive that road all the time and I've always asked myself, why do I
Here's-
have to stop?
Here's the petition. And do you get my joke about some important guy put it in? Now, thank you very much. That's it in a nutshell. Now, the other one is, when you're coming up Maple from Sully's,
Yep.
and you get to the apartment building on the right, at the intersection of Smith Road and Maple. Now, when you come down Smith Road, you come down the hill, there's a stop sign at the intersection of Maple and Smith Road. So you got to stop there, which is kind of questionable. And then there's a stop sign on Smith Road, which is obvious, because that's the road that intersects. And then when you're coming down Smith Road this way, there's a stop sign right in front of the apartment building. And same concept. Why are they there? Anybody coming out of the apartment building is going to stop anyway, because they're supposed to. And Smith Road is the intersecting street, so you'd expect a stop sign there. But the normal flow of traffic up and down Maple, I mean, there shouldn't be a stop sign for everybody. Anybody, you familiar with that one,
I
too?
know exactly where I am.
I rest my case. Guilty for whoever put that sign in. That's it. So I called the police chief, he was great, I said, how do I handle this? So he said, come on in and speak. So I've spoken. So can the sign be out
Would
by
that go to
tomorrow?
highway safety?
Yeah, I would,
Well, I'd like to get some background on the history of that, if
Yeah.
you've got some. Because I drive that all the time, and I never understood why coming down Smith, I have to stop at Bend Circle. Makes no sense.
Or coming up
Because a T
Smith?
intersection usually is only one
It
way.
defies logic. It's a small stub on Bend Circle. Not only does it defy logic, but it's not environmentally friendly because you've got to stop your vehicle and then re-accelerate out of the stop sign. It just doesn't make any sense, so some history on it.
Both of those intersections became all-way stops very recently, within the last 4 to 5 years. So there should be some good records at the police department and the highway safety as to
4
why
to
that
5
was.
years.
I think he's been there longer than that, but.
Yeah, it's relatively recent.
what normally happens, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Sue, but we would bring this to our Highway Safety Committee. The Highway Safety Committee is comprised of members of the town of Goffstown. We would bring it forth in the meeting. The meeting would come up with a recommendation. The recommendation would come back to us, the Board of Selectmen, and we, the Board of Selectmen, would make either a unanimous or a not in favor, or we would come up with some sort of a decision on what the Highway Safety Committee had come up with for a decision, and that's usually our steps. That's how we follow it.
What if the rich and powerful person is on that committee?
I doubt
It
it.
doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
All right, then.
So-
Okay.
Maybe on TV it works that way, but not here in Goffstown.
So, just, do we know when the next Highway Safety Committee meeting is, just like?
Wednesday.
Wednesday, okay, so you're in luck. We have a meeting when? Come on up, chief.
If I may.
Sure.
So, at the start of school, we always get inundated with quite a few new traffic safety requests, and it just so happens that Wednesday's our meeting. There's been a couple that have come about that we wouldn't be able to have time to assign to an officer to be able to do the investigation so that the Highway Safety Committee could take a look at it and then make an informed recommendation to the Board of Selectmen. So, my suggestion from this meeting is that Sue will end up sending me an email,
Correct.
and to
Yep.
Denise, we'll end up putting it on the agenda for fourth quarter's highway safety. By that time, we'll have had a full investigation.
I don't expect any shortcuts. We'll do the survey, we'll do the study, we'll do everything we normally do, so that this is.
Yeah, the Highway Safety Committee relies upon the officer's investigation, because just sitting there at the table trying to come up with it is very simple for you guys trying to make a determination without any evidence based upon. So I had mentioned to Mr. Hines that this would be a good forum for him to be able to express that, knowing that you folks would do exactly what I think you're going to do, is to have Sue direct Chairman of the Highway Safety Committee to assign it out. So
We also, I mean, when we send it out, as the chief can back me up on this one as well, we'll actually put a police officer there, he'll count cars, he'll measure and do a complete layout sketch of it, and when he comes back to this group, we'll be well informed, there shouldn't be any questions left out, so just bear with us, Mr. Hines.
Sure.
Your concerns are addressed. Wednesday's the meeting, we'll follow the procedure and go from there, how's that?
Sure, great. What do I do next? Nothing? Just wait and see if it goes away?
yeah, one of my officers will be in touch with you probably
Oh,
as soon
really?
as they get the sign. Yep.
That's it. And can you have Mr. Adams be a witness in the review?
Might have some pull. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you,
Thanks a
sir.
lot.
Nice to meet you.
Hi, nice meeting you. Okay, folks, take care. And I do
Um,
stop at that stop sign.
We're just a little ahead of 6:20, but we have some members out in the audience tonight for the Dark Fiber Bid Award, recommended by the IT Director, Mr. Funk, Neil Funk. If you and your crew would like to come up, it's your time.
All right, I hope you had a chance to read my recommendation
I did.
memo.
Yep.
We received 3 bids for our dark fiber RFP, and we chose the low bid option, which also was the only option that didn't include a large upfront installation cost or build cost. So we are recommending First Light with their option 1, and we're asking the selectmen tonight to authorize, or either to, sign a contract or authorize the town administrator to sign a contract and a notice to proceed for First Light.
So basically, First Light, option 1 is the one you're looking at, the one that's highlighted, Neil?
Correct. And we budgeted last year to install that this year.
Yep, okay. Just so
Just for a
that,
few months, so.
Right, we knew it would be the second half of the year.
yeah, okay. I'm just questions, when you say options, 2 sites, just kind of give me a,
We put out a request for multiple sites. What we're trying to do is create a network between the sites.
correct?
And the couple of the companies dropped the 2 most expensive sites for them to reach. In First Light's case, that was Station 17 up Terrell Hill.
Yep.
And Stonebridge Country Club, which is a voter repeater site for the fire department radio system.
And police as well, right? The police-
And police
Yeah,
and fire
yeah,
radio
yeah,
system.
Yeah, which is very
So,
important.
we can go without fiber there for the time being in order to make sure we do get fiber between police and fire and town hall and parks and rec and public works and create an internal network. So we agreed to drop 2 sites in order to get a less expensive price.
We have a choice of picking sites, or are those the sites that you're,
No, that was their choice.
That was-
Fairpoint actually picked 2 different sites to drop, which one was the Summit and one was Stonebridge Country Club. So in both cases, Stonebridge was out of reach, or too expensive to run the fiber there at this time.
I have one question. Why leave Station 17 out of the loop?
The expense. And we can reach it for now, for the voter repeater system, with, if we bump up their internet speeds and use a virtual private network. Unfortunately, we've been using virtual private network over internet to connect all our town buildings.
Yep.
And in that case, you're limited by your internet speed.
Correct.
And we've maxed out what we can get from Comcast, and it's not fast enough for an internal network.
So my last question before any of the other board members, if they have questions, how long would it take us to get those two sites to come forward so they'd be into the system? Would it be next year, or are we looking,
I believe the fire chief may be looking at grant opportunities
okay,
that could help out with that type
see him
of
shaking his head, thanks, chief.
opportunity next year.
Okay, yeah, no, that's fine.
So our goal would be to get those sites.
I just, for my own feeling here, I think the boards will probably share it as well. I mean, we're starting the fiber optic, but yet we're leaving key components out. And I mean, I feel because we're already maxed out and we're pushing the limits and pushing everything already, that, I mean, I don't want to have to wait a year or 2 or 3 down the road to be, fully functional, is my only concern. And I don't know how the other members of the board feel, but that's just myself.
If that were a big enough push, we could probably negotiate with First Light to find the cost to add those two. They did give us an option 2 that included all the sites, but it doubled the term of the contract from 5 years to 10 years,
Yeah,
and it didn't save us any money.
yeah,
So I'd look at maybe, seeing if we can get a better deal a year from now.
yep,
We were told by First Light that we received the pricing we did because they happened to get a contract in Goffstown to run fiber for a county project, and it just so happened we'll be able to take advantage of that existing fiber.
okay. So you're looking for a motion. Does anybody else have any questions for us before we?
So I'm just curious on First Light, both of their options, excuse me, has no money for the install, but it
Correct.
looks like they're both their monthly and yearly costs are higher, so are they just wrapping their install out into the monthly?
Correct.
Yeah, okay, thanks. Just want to clear on that.
Alan, any questions?
I'm still looking at this, I'm trying to decide whether, so for 60 months, and we go to 120 with all sites, they're more than doubled. I mean, I don't see what's...
The total cost of the total contract
Option 2.
value. Right, you're right, it is double,
More than doubled.
and
Twice
More
as long.
sites.
it's more sites with internet costs to the sites included with the networking. It actually came out higher. That is surprising, but that's what the number came out.
But it's 120 months as opposed to 60 months as well, so
Yes.
it's twice as long.
Adding more work and plus doubling the time. So
That's true, you're paying for internet on top of the fiber connection for 10 years instead of 5 years, driving the price up.
I'm prepared to make a motion.
Okay, anybody else? Any final question before we move? Go ahead.
I'll make a motion to authorize the town administrator to sign a contract for services and issue a notice to proceed to First Light for option number 1.
Do I have a second?
yes, second.
Seconded by David, okay. So the motion is to use First Light options for the 60-month installation. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, unanimous. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Now, 6:30, right on back on schedule. That brings us to the budget overview. And we start with the administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Does everybody have their new books?
Be next door.
Purple cover, right?
Yes, they were in your
Aye.
mail basket. We should take a quick break to pick that up.
Sue, do we need to put these in any special order, or?
I left them for you to decide. Those are the
Okay.
ones being presented tonight, and Adam will have his to distribute to you also. So one of those handouts at the beginning of your book is the budget overview. And, I think it's in the department head's books too, so you have them. If anyone else wants a copy, I have some up here. The 2017 operating budget article consists of three funds, as we all know: the general fund, the EMS special revenue fund, and the sewer fund. However, the only fund which affects the tax rate is the general fund, because the other two are funded by user fees and grants. The 2017 requests reflect the following increases. The general fund is up 1.7 million, or 9.63% increase, which is below what the selectmen had asked us to deliver to you. So you're starting off below the 10% threshold you had set. The EMS Special Revenue Fund is up $30,284, or a 7.17% increase. And the Sewer Fund, which I want to state has not been finalized by the Sewer Commission yet, is up $596,356, or 37.13%. But again, that's not their final budget. The general fund can be broken down into two types of expenses: the operating expenses and CIP. The operating expense requests are down about $88,248 overall, and the CIP requests are up about $1.8 million. As you know, during the budget process, some CIP items become special articles. So to get the big picture, I think we need to look at both CIP and special articles at the same time. So when you introduce that into the calculation and you take out the anomaly of a $2.3 million bond, because that was added to the expenditure and the revenue side for 2016, then the total increase to the 2017 general fund budget is $904,369. Now let's take a look at our general fund revenues. We have estimated, again, to compare, we've taken out that $2.3 million bond for this year. So the 2016 revenues is $5.5 million, and the 2017 estimated revenue is $6.4 million, an increase of about $860,000, resulting in a balance of $324,409 to be funded by either taxes or unassigned fund balance. Any questions on the big picture? That's your 30,000-mile view of the budget.
Good so far.
Department head budget assumptions. Under wages in the budget, you'll see that the non-union have been placed on the MRI new matrices that were adopted by the Board of Selectmen. There's one new position, and that's dispatcher, and the chief will go over the need for that when he presents his budget. There are increases for collective bargaining agreements for police, dispatch, and fire. And that's it for the wages. The insurances, the benefit account lines, you'll notice these budget lines represent health insurance, dental, life, and disability for employees. The department head budget estimates a 10% increase in health insurance for 2017 based on current plan selections. And that's important to state, based on current plan selections. So when you look at the benefit lines as the department heads present, some may go up and some may go down, because remember, the 10% is based on who's sitting in the seats on July 1st, and the selections that they have made. So if we got 3 new employees taking the place of 3 former employees that were on the family plan, they're now cashing out. It's a substantial savings. So even with the 10% increase, some of these lines have gone down. Workers' comp rates, the department head budget reflects the 2016 rates based on the 2017 estimated wages. Now, when we get further along in the budget process, the selectmen will have the workers' comp rates for 2017. They're doing their audit right now to determine our rates.
November, don't we, or something like
October.
that? October, no, okay.
Yeah, so before you conclude, by the end of October, you will have the new worker comp rates. Property liability insurance. The department head budget reflects the 2016 insurance rates for the first half of 2017, because that's their time period. They go from July 1st to July 1st, so we know that's a fixed amount for the first 6 months. And then we added the maximum increase, and it may not be that much, but at the max, they have a cap of 9% increase. So we estimate a 9% increase for the last half of next year. Utilities, electricity. The town's entered into a very favorable multi-year agreements with, for energy portion of the electric bill. But as we all know, that's only part of our electric bill. There's a distribution portion also. And so the department head budget assumes a 5% increase on the actuals. Heating oil, this year's heating season contract for heating oil is $1.85 per gallon, down from last heating season's rate of 2.249 per gallon. The department head budget is based on a 3-year average of gallons used times the current rate, unless there were heating source changes in the facility. For example, the new station is going to be all propane, so he didn't have to budget for heating oil there. And he had to increase propane. Propane, this year's heating season contracted rate is 1.129 per gallon, which is down from last year's season's rate of 1.199 per gallon. The department head budget is again based on a 3-year average of gallons used times current rates unless there were heating source changes in the facility. Diesel, that's also down. The contracted rate is $1.98 per gallon. In 2016, it was 2.379. Gasoline, the contracted rate is 1.785 per gallon. In 2016, that was 2.199. So we're seeing a lot of savings in utilities, and that probably shows up more in the big departments that are using vehicles. New Hampshire retirement system. I put in the current rates and the projected rates. However, we're not sure if those projected rates will be adopted by the retirement board. They will vote in September, I believe, or October. And your budget will reflect any increases. My understanding is that they were changing the percentage, as our auditor told us when he was here a few weeks ago. They're changing their rate of return on their investments, which leaves a hole for the employer to fill. So that will be subject to change. And the next page kind of gives you, at a glance, a spreadsheet showing the cost, the expenses, comparing year to year, and as well as the revenue. Any questions on the overview before we have our first presenter?
I have no questions. Any other members of the board? Good job, Sue. Thank you.
Okay. Adam, you're up.
David, you're all set, right?
Being heckled because I broke the pact and put together a presentation, so. Sorry.
You're going to have PowerPoint?
Yep. I get it.
Thanks.
All right, going?
Did it work?
The blue light's on, I think that's the sign, right?
Thank
Oh,
you.
okay, thank you. I'm gonna get
Is there
out
an
of the
extra
way
one for
and-
Gail here?
What?
No, I have one.
Spot over there.
Extra one.
Oh, you do?
Is it okay to give it to her? Do you have one?
Absolutely.
Okay.
You're all right, David.
Sorry, dude.
Stay right there.
You're
I'll
gonna
just-
move the whole
I'll
seat.
assume my old
Most
seat.
important one to have, right?
I'll have to just slide that chair out of the way if it's in the way, but.
So in your budget books, Adam's budget is at tab 4.
Time to show up, or did it not? Thank God.
I didn't see any lights come on.
Push the button. Oh, the blue light's on.
Oh, is it?
It's flashing.
Flashing. No, I think it has to.
Oops, there it is.
There we go.
See you, chief.
You all set? Adam?
Adam, we're gonna work off of this end, both of them?
I
or
see
just-
something.
Perfect, I'm gonna go right
Yeah,
down
it's
the
just
power.
Right down this one, okay. So he's gonna pretty much go off of this one.
Maybe. Sure, why not? Put everybody right to sleep. Thanks. Okay, good evening. First, I should mention, for anybody at home, we do have a copy of this presentation available on the town website, thanks to Sue. It's on the town homepage on the left side. You'll see town budget. If you click that link, you'll see a link to the 2017 budget and department head presentations near the bottom of the page, and we'll be under Public Works. So I'm going to roughly follow the same order. I will follow the same order as the budget packets, but I do have some extra information as we go, so we'll click right through. So first of all, I'd like to do a quick overview of what we've accomplished thus far and what we plan to finish up in the fall with our 2016 budget, just to kind of show where this money goes. So in no particular order, and not diving too deep unless anybody wants to. In 2016, we reconstructed the Aileen Drive stormwater detention pond, which had been a $90,000 project in our CIP a couple years ago. We took that off, thinking we could do it ourselves, and it turns out it was doable. We had a nice light winter. We were able to get in there early, so it was a great project before the road work could begin this late winter, early spring. We converted the streetlights in town to LED, so significant savings in the budget. Again, this year you'll see that show up in the operating budget. Our Pleasant Street pedestrian bridge was finally able to get installed. The Fairpoint and Eversource were able to move the utilities that were the last barrier to that precast bridge being placed. So that was done in the spring. In the field of asset management, we've started to ramp that up with ArcGIS online and mobile solutions, so we can survey our stormwater, bridge, roadway, all the inspections that we have to do, and a lot of this gets pushed to the summer interns, of course, and the engineering staff, catch basin cleaning and sewer manhole cleaning crews as well. So starting to get that shift of working smarter and harder at the same time, but hopefully smarter as we go. So we've got a small upticks in our tech budgets this year to continue to support that effort. We had some pretty significant sinkhole action down on Mast Road near the Watchway Restaurant, both sides of the road, so I guess the warranty was up on that culvert whenever it was put in. Pretty deep down in there. That used to be a pretty deep ravine, so at some point in the near future we're going to see that pop up in my CIP for a 5 or 6 year out project to replace that culvert. It's going to require a pretty significant amount of excavation to get down there, but did some pretty good repairs, and hopefully that'll buy us a fair amount of time.
When you
before
say
we get back
significant, will they have to come right across Mass Road, Adam, or?
there. It will. We
Okay.
may be able to sequence it, do
Yeah.
one lane type closures, but it's fairly deep, so just the trench protection alone is going to require pretty significant shutdowns for
Thank you.
shoring. We also did some work with Parks and Rec. They have the new playground construction that's going on, of course, at Roy Park. So we've helped them with some of the grounds work there, remove some of the berms that were around the pool area and on the way to the playground, help them construct some new walkways and get those paved. And then, of course, clearing the old tennis court area for the new playground, excavating and getting it to proper subgrade for them to get their playground-based material in. The paving of Rosemont Street, and then the new access to the ADA parking, which will be up top by the new playground, should be done here in a week or two. So quite a facelift for Roy Park for sure this year. Station 18 of the fire department, of course, to support their project, we had the demolition of the foundation for the old shed that was moved. We've got the skate park demolition that hopefully will be done this week, and then upcoming here in a few weeks we'll be trenching across Church Street for some new utility conduit from one of the poles. We anticipate, and hopefully nothing changes between now and tomorrow, starting Parker Station Bridge tomorrow, as announced earlier. That is just a rehab project, so strip the deck, chip old concrete, try to get down to good rebar, and build it back up to where it should be. There's a lot of guardrail work that has to be done, guardrail substandard. There is some drainage that outfalls right at the bridge itself. We're going to replace that too while we're in there. West Lawn Cemetery, also upcoming. That's a contracted job, but we've worked with the Cemetery Commission and the contractor to get them going on the new wrought iron fencing for the West Lawn Cemetery expansion. So they had anticipated, last I talked to them a few weeks ago, starting sometime in September. And then, of course, road work. This year we had a good bump in the road plan. due mainly to the special article that passed last year, added $250,000 to the road work budget every year. And so this year with that money, we were able to address 4% of the total road network, either through reclaim or a maintenance overlay. So we reclaimed projects, started off Page Hill Road, Upper Black Brook, Phase 3 all the way, so that finishes the Black Brook job. Worthley Hill, Phase 2 and 3 from Lamson up to Merrill. Kendall Hadley Way was sort of a later adjustment to the plan based on work that the water department had done, rather than have a 2/3 of the road patched and then 1/3 a terrible road. We just had the water department contractor replace some drainage that needed to be upgraded, and we took on the cost of the paving instead. So all in all, we ended up with a better project, better product than we would have had over there. And that'll be set up now when we have to start doing some creative detours next summer with the Main Street project. We've also done some maintenance overlays on Elm Street, Center Street, upcoming on Snow, and as I mentioned, Rosemont. And then, of course, we'll be overlaying the reclaimed streets from 2015. Glenridge Ave and College Road on schedule to start next Tuesday. As I mentioned earlier in the update, the sewer work on Glenridge is going to kick off this week, and the Liberty Utilities is also able to get enough support to add a gas main expansion there as well. So pretty good little project in that neighborhood. And then College Road with the new sidewalk will take us right through probably late fall. And then if we haven't run out of time, money, or weather, we will we'll start on Stinson Road and basically bite off as much as we can chew. So I'll come back to you in a couple weeks and give you an update where we sit budget-wise and time-wise, and see what the plan's going to be for Stinson. So then, including that work, as in addition to that work, I should say, was 3,500 feet of sidewalk between Worthing and the new sidewalk on College Road. So pretty good bang for the buck, about $750,000 worth of outlay, plus our time as general contractor on the projects. And if we had contracted these out, estimated about $2.5 million worth of work. So pretty good bang for the buck with the in-house crew. Okay, so moving on to 2017, general budgeting approach that I used. Continue to expand the use of the budget detail in Munis, and that kind of allows us to start getting closer to zero-based budgeting, where every dollar is justified in some way, called out, and what it's going towards. Looked at year-over-year trends, of course, with surpluses and deficits, and then any operational shifts. We don't have too many planned this year, but overall, the goal was reducing our budget from last year and still support our long-term capital needs, and kind of put that money where it can best benefit the most number of people in town. So I'm going to apologize. I think there's a couple numbers on this slide that are going to be different than your handout, but I'm not sure anybody's should be using this as their go-to from here on out as far as the budget goes, but they do match your budget handouts. We had a personnel line item that changed a couple of different benefit lines, so that kind of rippled through. So anyhow, in general, the operating budget, I broke it up into personnel and non-personnel costs. So nearly 2/3 there of our operating budget is personnel related. Of course, people are the ones getting the work done. We're looking at a 2% increase there, and that's mainly due to the non-union matrix increases that Sue mentioned, and then some of our insurances that have gone up. On the operating non-personnel end of things, I'm proposing a 9% cut in that portion of the budget, which in the end leads us to a almost 2.5% reduction from 2016's budget for 2017. And probably don't need to remind you that 2016 was coming off of a default year, and we also had a cut from the default budget. So a couple years in a row, we've been able to keep our pencil sharpened at Public Works. And then revenues. The other good news is revenues are up, or projected to be up. So we're looking at about a 4.5% increase in revenues. So a net total of almost 3.5% reduction, 3.3% reduction in our overall budget. 35 total lines are increased. In my proposed budget, 48 lines are reduced and 42 lines were level funded. Just to look at our general trend over the last decade or so, with a call out there from 2015 where, of course, we were in default. So we started to kind of bend the curve a little bit the last couple of years, and if passed as proposed, we'll keep that trend going.
Adam, can I ask a question on the next slide, last slide back? What do you attribute the revenue increases to?
So on the revenue end of things, the highway block grant funding has gone up a little bit. I believe some of that was the gas tax blip that from a couple years back that actually was, they had missed it or was held back, I think, the way the budget seasons fell. So we'll get a little bit of an increase there. There is an annual increase in the highway block grant funding anyway. Some of our recycling revenues are projected to be up a little bit. Mainly the recycling revenues in the budget are due to our scrap metal and electronics recycling. When we get to the solid waste budget, I'll talk about our regular single stream recycling as well, because there's good news on that front.
And you had some bridge aid this year, or you anticipate bridge
We
aid
do anticipate some bridge aid. I do not believe that number
is here?
includes the bridge aid number. It's
Okay.
separate in the CIP line. So the bridge aid's not a sure thing. It's a hope, and from DOT's perspective, it sounds like we can get it, but this is just our regular block grant funding and public works revenues through permitting and solid waste. Okay, so there's again the overall DPW budget trend. Okay, so first, Division Cemetery, looking at a 2% proposed increase, and that's mainly due to the non-union wage and insurances. We do have a little bit of an uptick in uniforms, mainly due to some of our safety apparel. Try to keep that stuff fresh and keep folks on the roads and out in the public eye looking good and safe. And facility supplies, we've been overexpending a little bit on that one the last couple of years. Decreases, as Sue mentioned, gas and diesel across the board are down. So gas, equipment maintenance and facility maintenance for cemetery, we've been underspending. So I'm going to bring that down too. If we have anything big, we can make it up. Public Works Operations, our biggest division by far, looking at a 1.8% proposed decrease from last year's budget. Increases in those non-union wages and insurances. Uniforms again. As I mentioned, the mobile tech, it shows up as the cell phones line in your budget, but that includes our data plans for tablets for our engineering and interns as they do mobile inspections. We're also trying to get our supervisors into we've got our online work order system. It's cloud-based. So in the field, they can real-time update work orders, see if there's a change, check notes, check addresses, check a map, assets, see if there's catch basins nearby. It also comes into play with now that we're a member of DigSafe, we can look at our mapping from the road. So when we go out and mark for our utilities for other people's excavations, it's all come in handy. And facilities maintenance, a few items here and there. This year we've had to replace a set of doors and some HVAC issues, and then we had hot water, propane-fired hot water tank sprung a leak 2 weeks ago. So a few ticky-tack type items are starting to add up, so I'm going to bump that line a little. Decreases overtime, mainly due to our trends in winter maintenance. This past year probably skewed winter maintenance a little bit more than others, but it happened. So I've adjusted salt and overtime as appropriate. Professional dues that had gone up last year for my PE license, which is coming up here in a couple weeks, my exam. Employee development, we've been underspending that with travel, so we're offering up classes to folks and certainly a good contingent that are taking us up on that, but we're underspending, so I'm proposing a cut to that. And then a few other items, but mainly the big ticket items are diesel and gas, specifically diesel for us with the amount of fuel that we use. 40 cent a gallon price cut is pretty significant, so budgeted that in, it's all good. And then salt use, again with last winter bringing that trend down. I think I've cut about $20,000 out of the salt line. And then finally crack sealing. I'm proposing to eliminate crack sealing from our road maintenance regime. The amount of crack sealing we can do for the money that we had set aside for it was pretty insignificant. And my personal opinion and some of other asphalt scholars, there's not a great correlation between crack sealing and the length of time that an actual road can last without needing resurfacing or some other treatment. but basically what it boils down to is when you crack seal, when you go down, then rate that road later in the year, or the following year, you get extra credit for having sealed cracks. So that inflates your PCI.
Bumps the road, yeah.
You know, your PCI's up by nature of having crack sealed. There's been a few studies to show that in 10 years on, there's no difference in what's happening on the road. There's a lot of studies that see that cracks, you know, for the majority of roads develop because of poor subsurface conditions. So it's a symptom, not necessarily the cause of road failure.
So that money for the crack sealing will just go away, or will it be absorbed in different parts of the budget?
So I had cut that down from 25 to 20 last year, and I've eliminated it. So that's part of the overall
Okay.
cut of
Yep, thank you.
this year's budget. And then 17 lines level funded. Stormwater operations, that's another one that, based on the early returns on the MS4 program, everybody thought it was going to be a lot more onerous 5 years ago than it's starting to turn out to be. They still haven't released the final permits yet for the Northeast. So until we start to see some real upticks in costs, I'm not going to budget for them. So based on actuals, we've got those non-union increases, but making more cuts to overtime, insurances, travel, and consulting lines, which were underspent the last couple of years. Fleet operations, pretty static, only down 0.3%. One uptick of note, uniforms. We've got flame-resistant coveralls for the mechanics. They've been going with just regular cotton in years past, so that's a pretty important thing with the open flame that they have in welding. Decreases in overtime, lubricants, towing, maintenance supplies, paint and recon, and tools, all we've underspent the last couple of years, so no need to keep the budget high. And then solid waste and recycling, another big proposed cut here, down 6% from last year. We do have the same increases we've seen on some of the other lines. Bulky waste starting to pick up, so that's kind of a leading indicator on how the economy's going. Looks like things are starting to turn around because we're getting a lot more bulky waste than we have in the past couple of years. That's construction demo for the most part. Trash, we do have some increase there, only based on our contract. As you might recall, we just signed a long-term agreement renewal with Casella, but that was scheduled to go up anyway in January by 3%. I'm sorry. So we'll be going from $50.65 to $52.15 a ton for trash. And then I made a little bit of an increase in the operating supplies line, which is almost 100% funding our new barrels. So as barrels wear out, need to be fixed or replaced, we fix as many as we possibly can. We have an extra stock of lids and pins and wheels. But over time, especially lately, where they were all purchased around the same time when we shifted to the automated curbside collection, they're all starting to get to the same point where they've been out in the sun exposed, and that plastic gets
Brittle.
pretty brittle. So we're starting to get where we're not getting as much of them replaced every year as we should. So I added about $2,000 to that $10,000 line. Decreases. Part-time wages, we just had a change in personnel here. Travel line, consulting, brush grinding. McWalton's done a good job negotiating some better rates with brush grinding, so that's been down. Household hazardous waste. Recycling, so single stream recycling, just signed that contract with Casella as well to switch to them, and that starts next month. We were paying $16 a ton, I think was the last number I'd given you a few months back with Waste Management. That number's been going down a little bit, but with Casella, month one, right now it's a revenue actually. So we'll be looking at about 50 cent a ton revenue to start off the year, and if that continues, then we'll actually see a savings even more than I budgeted for. I tried to plan for about a $5 a ton rate based on a.
That's going down to Mass too, right? Is that?
It is. Billerica and Charlestown for the single stream. Let's see. Electricity, as Sue mentioned, underspent that a little bit, but we didn't cut it too much based on the transmission costs. And then diesel, of course, with solid waste primarily. That's one of the big drivers for them. Okay, so I'll move on to capital unless anybody has any questions for me on the operating end of things. Okay, so as presented to the CIP committee earlier, this fall, late summer. Looked at vehicles and equipment starting last year. I tried to peg out for the whole fleet a full replacement cycle, and turns out it can work with pretty close to where we were in the default scenario in 2015. So last year I bumped up the vehicles and equipment line to 458,000, and this year trying to keep that fairly static here over the next 7 to 8 years and beyond. I'm asking for $1,000 less for the vehicles and equipment that we need, and I'll go on to those specifically in the next slide. And then projects, on the default 2015 budget, we had 571,000. Of course, that came up last year with the significant increase to the road plan that we're trying to get up to about $1.5 million a year in road plan monies, and that will get us about a 20-year return on all our streets. And then we've got some other projects, most notably this year the Uncanunic Dam, which we had high hopes for last year and didn't pan out, so it's going to be back on the budget again for that. So we'll talk about those too. So for vehicles and equipment, we've only got 4 items. We've got 2 6-wheel dump trucks, a 2003 and a 2005. Both of them pretty close in hours, about 10,000. The 2003 model up top was approved in 2015, but then deferred with the default scenario. They are the last 2 6-wheel dump trucks in our fleet without the stainless bodies. Stainless bodies are obviously, based on the line of work, probably a good idea. Cut down on the corrosion and the refurb needed, but also you can take a stainless body and upfit it on a new truck if it's in decent shape, and that's my intent going forward. Now that we've these will be the last 2 that get converted over. After that, I dropped down my CIP amounts to reflect the savings that we've been quoted, about $20,000 if you save a stainless steel body just with a new cabin chassis. So both those include the dump bodies with sanders and the plow packages, $175,000 for each unit. So that's the big ticket items for the vehicles and equipment. The other one of the other items we have is a 2004 Bobcat skid steer. This is used primarily in the single stream building around the transfer station. It's got 7,000 hours on it. I'd like to continue that trend that I started last year with some of the non-frontline emergency equipment, and look for a late model so we can see some pretty good savings there. I put in $40,000 in the CIP, which is more than enough for a 1 or 2 or 3 year old skid steer if I can find one in good shape. With the idea that we'll use the remainder of that to get a couple implements, either a new street broom or something to keep the transfer station clean, something that can go on our winter maintenance Bobcats. We have 2 in highway and 1 with the solid waste. So if you'd like to drop that down, we could look at that too. And then we've got a 2006 Ford F550 crew cab, primarily used by cemetery and grounds, and then of course in winter maintenance. It's got 8,000 hours, 90,000 plus miles. The idea will be recondition the current plow and headgear, and then upfit with a new stainless body and spreader. I've identified that in the CIP for $67,000, and that's based on the crew cab that was just recently replaced as well. Okay, moving on to the projects end of the CIP, 2017 road plan. So we had a $700,000 budget last year for road plan funding, and I'm proposing, based on that plan, to get from where we started in the default scenario up to about $1.4 million in 2021, which I think is where we should kind of level off, and that gets us, as I mentioned earlier, about a 20-year replacement on our return period on our roads. So main roads obviously a little more often than that, but you shouldn't have to wait 45 or 50 years if you live on a side street to get repaved, which is the case in some of our streets in Pinardville especially. Requested a little bit of that uptick to $825,000 this year for the road plan. Of note, and we haven't budgeted it this way, and it's kind of just come in under that separate revenues line that we talked about earlier. Hasn't usually been rolled into the CIP discussion, but the highway block grant funding for the 2017 fiscal year, which is a little different in the state, of course, than ours, but it's $422,000. So the plan with that $825,000 would be, as we all know, primarily reclaim drainage and sidewalk for Main Street and North Mast, and that includes the 2 CMAC intersection improvements. I'd like to resurface Flanders Court and reclaim, probably it's short enough, and then start looking at municipal parking lots if our budget allows. We do have a little bit of contingency line on that Main Street number, just in case we find anything crazy, which I'm sure we will, especially on the actual main drag. But if we have the budget, I'd like to hit some parking lots. And then at some point, probably pretty soon, I'd like to come to you with some recommendations for our 2015-16 winter surplus. Overtime, salt, diesel, we've got some savings there from a light winter. If possible, I'd like to transfer and encumber those for next year's road plan. There's other things outside the norm that we should look at for Main Street, street furniture, decorative lighting, pedestrian-type lighting to match what's already here. Wayfinding signage if you want any planter boxes, street trees, there's all sorts of things that we don't normally do, that this is the time to do it, of course, on Main Street. So I'll come to you in a month or so with that plan.
Adam, we have talked in the past about businesses that are like behind Main Street and giving them some kind of
Frontage.
signage on Main Street so people know where they are. That would probably work well into this project, I would think.
Absolutely. There's some pretty neat wayfinding sign schemes that we'll take a look at that can line up pretty well with a nice decorative style street lamps like we have at the park and on Depot Street, and it's almost a wrought iron extension of that, and it's got a nice script, and there's some real nice products that you can get for that type of thing, especially Town Hall this way, and businesses, of course. In addition to the reclaim work, Norman Road is on the list for a shim and overlay, as is the upper end of Page from Locust to Route 13. So that would complete Page Road, which was reconstructed in the last 2 years, the lower end. So that's been budgeted as well. So again, the goal is to gradually increase each year and get up to that, what I've pegged off at 1.425, and that was basically just adding 125 a year for X number of years to get up there. And that would put us in pretty great shape, actually, as far as our road work budget goes. Another project that would be continuing would be the West Lawn Cemetery expansion. So this year we have the fencing project. Phase 2 of that would be, might be nice if I put the number for 2017 on there, huh? $29,000 in 2017, and that's for all the trees, shrubs, and flowers that have been proposed, all the landscaping. And then in 2018 will be the final phase of that, which is $57,000 in the CIP for survey and layout, and actually put us in a position where we could start selling plots. Still, if we have 5 heavy years of purchases, we could be out of remaining plots in West Lawn as it stands now. I think we've got about 60 left. My math is correct. So, it will be a stretch to get there in 5 years, but it could happen. We've had some years where we've sold that many plots. So that's kind of where we stand now, but we're in good shape with the most expensive phase this year. And then on Uncanonic Dam repairs, we've got the state of New Hampshire order. The last order from the state was to line up a design firm and come up with a new design. So we've done that. We were ahead of schedule. That was, I think the deadline was either June 30th or July 1st of this past summer. We had done that, I think 9 months early, based on the order. We have no follow-on orders. Permitting's in progress, but it's been held at we haven't applied for the dam safety permit because once you apply, there is a window that a clock that starts, so we didn't want to start it last year if we are going to start the project, but that'll be ready to go if the budget's approved to start the dam safety permit. CIP amount is $222,488, very specific. As you might recall, last year we had a hint of a gleam of hope from state Homeland Security Emergency Management that said, there might be FEMA money available for dam reconstructions. So at the time I came to you and we decided that I called the state and they said, we understand people want to find ways to fund this. They weren't going to hold it against us if we tried to get some, and then it didn't happen. Well, not 2 months after that meeting, I think, last budget season, went to the FEMA benefit cost classes and talked with some of the FEMA reps, the actual FEMA reps, and They said dams like this were not a candidate because there's been no actual damage, and it's, in their mind, it's lack of maintenance has got the dam to the point where it is, and they don't see that as eligible for funding. So not a candidate for funding, and I would not recommend that we try to hold off again, in order to get an application submitted. So really got to get that done. We're, as I said, we don't have any new dates yet by the state. So whether or not we want to talk about this being a special article or not, I don't think they'd hold it against us if it was a special article and it failed to put it off one more year, but I guess that's a risk that we would run. From my perspective, the problem with putting it in as a special article this year might be if it does get voted down, we do have to put it off. We start to get quite a backlog on some of our bigger projects, and this is a pretty big ticket item, so food for thought anyway for the next few weeks.
Also, the other risk in putting in a special article is that no means no.
Right.
Correct.
If you had to replace it because it was breached, you'd be in a precarious situation.
Up the creek,
Yeah.
I say. Okay, so another project we've got identified for 2017 is Terrell Hill Road Bridge. It's a 1994 bridge, which doesn't sound all that old, but kind of a poor design. As you can see, this upper picture here, maybe you can't see, but the upper picture there is the bottom support of what is the guardrail that wraps around the bridge and comes down and connects into the last beam of the bridge. And basically, it's just a path for water and salt, apparently, with this bridge design. So every single one of those end supports for the guardrail is rotten through, and that last bridge beam member is seeing the bulk of the damage as well. So there's spots where you can put your fist through the guardrail support, so it's time for that as well. But based on the two end beams needing to be replaced, it's a candidate for full deck replacement. So that was recommended in 2013 by our consultant, and so we put it on, but it was deferred in 2015 with a default, and then pushed again last year as part of the budget process. The good news is it's not on the municipal red list, so we're still only receiving inspections every other year. The bad news is it's not on the bridge aid list. Still a 6 to 7 year wait on that. So recommend putting money in the budget for design. So actually, that should say 2017 CIP amount for $92,000 and 2018 CIP amount for $480,000. So money for this year for design, and then construction will be the follow-on season. As Sue mentioned earlier, the state aid bridge program normally is for construction reimbursement, both design and construction reimbursement, but they do have a special kind of on they don't proclaim it very often, but there's a program to reimburse for design only if you're on the cusp of replacing a bridge. So we, Nancy at DOT has said we might be able to get some monies towards that 80% funding on the $92,000 for 2017. Another bridge that we've talked about, I know last year, Henry Bridge, 1937 original construction, in 1996 with a new superstructure. 2013 report from that same design consultant recommended looking at it further for rehab or replacement. There's some cracked blocks in the abutments, some minor corrosion going on some of the corrugated metal bridge decks that you can see on the underside there. Getting some seat issues near the bridge seats. Looks like some infiltration of water right at the ends of the bridge, so it's starting to look more and more like it may be red listed. We just had an inspection last month. DOT hasn't given us the official report yet, but the inspector swung by and just said don't be surprised if it does get red listed. It's also undersized geometrically. That's not a reason to replace a bridge, but you can see a few battle damage scars on it as you drive by where it might have hit somebody's mirror or the plow wing, or
That's what the plow wing
who knows
scars
what
are.
else, right? We do have to stop and let other vehicles pass when we're driving a plow truck across it because it can't fit two vehicles at once that size. If the money that we've asked for is $50,000 for this year for some in-depth inspection and study, some very prelim design. If it looks like it's going to need replacement, it could be a $3 million to $4 million maybe bridge job. So we'd look to add it to the bridge aid list, get on that list, and then this would start to show up in my CIP 6 or 7 years out.
Would it make the 6 or 7 year window, Adam?
I think so. We may have to talk about some interim rehab on some of the ends.
Yep.
Maybe some repointing of the granite block, that type of thing.
Yep.
I didn't show the slide here, but I got a pretty good picture of that Ready Rock, or not Ready Rock, the Versa Lock retaining wall that holds the approach in, and that's all pretty well starting to go as well. So the salt action's, tearing those blocks apart. So I'm sure whatever the project ends up being, that's going to be included in the retaining wall. Then we've got $20,000 that we're requesting for design for 2 bridges on Bog Road that need rehabilitation. The upper, I always get them mixed up, so I can't remember if that's the first or the second. But the upper has some substandard guardrail that needs to get replaced, some scouring, and then there's some pop-offs in the concrete underneath the bridge deck. We'll strip the asphalt and see what the condition of the actual bridge deck top is, and just like the other bridges we've done recently, we'll make all the concrete repairs, the guardrail upgrades, and then put a new membrane and repave. And then we've got some other more specific damage on the second bridge around some of the guardrail bases, some cracking. So we're asking for $20,000 for design, and then anticipating about $115,000 for the rehab for the 2 bridges in total, based on our recent rehabs that we've done on New Boston Road and what we've got planned for Parker Station. Neither bridge is on DOT red list, neither bridge is on the state aid bridge list. And then finally, modifications from last year's CIP, East Dunbarton Road, I deferred that to 2018. It's the sister bridge to Terrell Hill. It's got very similar corrosion where the guardrail supports meet the main beams. And then detention pond reconstruction, as we mentioned earlier about Aileen Drive, successful project, so I pulled that recurring $70,000 to $90,000 a year out of CIP, and we'll just chip away as time and weather allows. We'll get as many as we can get done, and hopefully save the out-of-pocket cost. Finally, for anybody at home that hasn't already, sign up for Facebook or go and see us at the public page, so you don't even need to be a member. You can go check us out for pictures and updates. And then goffstown.com homepage, on the left side, you'll see construction projects. You can always click there and see pictures and read all the updates as well. So thanks for your time, and open the floor for any questions.
There you go, thanks.
Yep.
I had a quick question. What kind of a plan do we have in line for these detention ponds to maintain them once they're finished and once they're taken care of?
So once they're done, they get added to our regular mowing. So we just have at least, our goal is twice annually, if not more often.
Because I know Aileen, that had been in there for, I think, 24 years.
I believe it. There's some
I put it in.
pretty good
I know.
beefy trees in
Been
there.
there for 24 years. I built that piece of road and put that in there 24 years ago, and I know that they were supposed to maintain it. That's why I put a road in, and nobody ever touched it. I'm just kind of curious so we don't get caught with a big budget number again.
Yep. So we've got a list going now of those that are either new or have been
Right,
rehabbed, and they just get on the annual list.
good,
for
good.
attention. So, yeah, it was a kind of a shady glen. You could hardly tell it was a pond really from the outside.
Oh,
when
yeah,
it started.
had some trees on it. Thank you.
Anyone else? David?
I'm okay, yeah. Good job.
Thank you. Good job.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Alan.
Nice job, Ed.
Next.
I do not have a PowerPoint.
Okay, so I'll go back to my seat.
You stuck to the pact, huh?
Yeah.
I gave you the handouts instead. So now we're into the town hall budget highlights. And the list of highlights, you've got 3 pages here, and the list of highlights are only things that have gone up or down $100 or more. So, as you know, town hall is divided into many different offices. We'll start with the administration. And due to reorg, we are shifting some of the responsibilities. This also used to be economic development, but we'll be going to planning in this reorg before the end of the year. So the, first of all, the whole town hall budget is a decrease of $13,044, or down about 0.5%. In administration, that goes down $99,430, or 11.79%. mostly in the wage and wage-related lines because of the shifting. As you recall, there was a full-time position in here that was broken out to be part-time. So now this line includes 2 full-time employees and half of 2 full-time employees and 2 part-time employees, and the selectmen's stipends are also in here. It assumes placement on the matrix we discussed earlier. So that is the biggest change in the admin budget. Professional dues are up slightly due to anticipated 2% increases in the NHMA membership and the ASCAP music license for the town. Employee development is down about 130 based on actuals. Travel expenses are down $200. Legal services are down $2,000. Minute takers, this was another shift because EDC minute take will be shifted to planning. Advertising is up based on actuals. We've been busy. We've been doing a lot of legal notices for public hearings on ordinances and accepting donations. So we've been overexpending that line, so that's a slight increase of $500. Electricity has been reduced about $1,900. Facility maintenance has been reduced $1,000. Property liability insurance, as a result of going with a new carrier, is down $752. Economic development has been transferred in this reorg to planning. And all the Grassmere Town Hall lines result in a reduction of $1,165. Any questions on, I'll go office by office, so if you have any questions on admin. Good, okay. Town clerk is up slightly, 1.06%, or $2,044. There was a shift in a lot of employees at Town Hall this year. 2 retired, and therefore they were replaced, and this is one office affected by that. So even with the placement on the new matrix, wages are down $1,059 in that office. Office supplies are up $600. This was an increase in the cost of dog tags. Postage is up $713. The number of mailings for dogs and motor vehicle. Printing and binding is up $1,789. Any questions on town clerk? Elections are down, way down, because we only have 1 election next year, and we had 4 this year. So that's down $37,890. We may have to revisit it if there's any legislation that increases the minimum wage, because that's what we pay them, temporary election workers. Finance, that's down $35,973. Again, this is part of our reorg. It includes 3 full-time employees and half a full-time employee. And again, assumes a placement on the matrix. The audit is up $500 due to our contract with them. Consulting services could go down $5,000 because we had that OPEB study done this year, so we don't have to do that for another 3 years. And banking services has increased based on our actuals, so that went up $1,400. Any question on finance? Next office is tax collection, and this is a decrease of $16,005, or 17.79% down. Again, in the wage and wage-related lines because of new staff. But then you see that employee development goes up a bit. Up $305, travel expenses up $125, and consulting services, this is the, we hire a company to come in and do the research of liens and deeds for tax liening and tax deeding. And that's up $300. Information technology is up $73,471, or 16.72%. Of that, wage-related lines are up $26,320. As you recall, when we broke out that full-time position we had here to part-time, we also hired a part-time help desk person here, and that's part of the reason for that increase. Computer software is up $14,851. The internet phone access is up $32,000. This is to accommodate a 12-month fiber connection to meet all department needs. And cell phones are up $300. Any questions on IT? Our reval is up $23,041, or 11.62%. Wage-related lines account for about 4,700 of that. Professional dues are down $385 because one is a 2-year membership, and that was paid in 16, so you won't see that added back until 18. Legal services is a $10,000 increase. We have 2 active lawsuits. Consulting services, this is the off year for the list and measure. And what we would like to do is update our pictometry, which was last done in 2012. And so that would be an increase of $9,370 to that line. Books and publications. The Handy Whitman is a 2-year subscription, so that's down $255 for next year. Going right along, planning, zoning, and economic development is an increase of $67,920, or 29.85%. The reason, again, for this is the reorg and the shifting of economic development here. And also, due to the reorg, we're going to be hiring a full-time zoning code enforcement officer. So that's the reason for the increase in wages, which is most of the increase in this office. Professional dues is down $386, employee development down $500. Travel expenses is down $1,250. Legal services is up $2,500 based on the 2015 actuals. Minute takers is up $1,800 for the EDC, and then we have the Economic Development Council budget of $4,000. And then the Southern New Hampshire Planning Commission, we got their letter, and their dues are going up $684. Any questions on planning and economic development? Moving along, other general government, the biggest increase here is in the Conservation Commission. We were asked to put this, and actually the article was amended at the last town meeting to have this in the operating budget, not as a special article. So that we put it under Conservation Commission. If the board feels it should be somewhere else, let me know, but we increased their budget by $15,000. The Budget Committee decreased their budget by $300 based on actuals. Building and Health is up 1.85%, or $1,625, and that's all wage-related. Everything else is the same. Human Services is down $6,548, or 8.67%. And that is due to a reduction in the direct assistance of $10,000, and there is an increase in wage and wage-related lines of $3,472. Finally, for our admin capital improvements, we have 2 items that were approved by CIP and the Planning Board. One is for Town Hall. This is the security system, the fire alarm system, and the exterior door replacements, and to also tie in the security system to those exterior doors, so that if we have to do a lockdown, we can do a lockdown. But I don't know if you've noticed, but Chairman LeMay had to help me one night chain up the front door.
Yeah, we did.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yep.
Luckily, he had some chains in his car. But, yeah, we could not get it locked at
So
one
we
point.
just
It's rotting away,
Wrapped
so
the
we
handle a
really need to,
couple times.
we've had repairs since then, but it needs more than that.
the bottom center post, the bottom head, the screws had come apart, and we just couldn't lock the door, no matter how hard we tried, so we just
Yeah,
wrapped the chain several times around it and put a lock. Back to the old days.
Yep. And then the other item is the master plan update for $25,000. So in summary, the town hall budget is down about 13,000 or 0.5%. This budget allows implementation of a new wage and classification plan as developed by our consultant and as adopted by the Board of Selectmen. It also provides for 12 months of a fiber network, pictometry, master plan update, and an update of an aging security system, fire alarm system, and exterior doors.
have a question, Sue. So we've just had the new MRI pay matrix done.
Yes.
Will all of the budgets that are coming forward, will that show the new 2%? So
Yes.
It'll all be in there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it will.
Thank you.
So next week, we have library budget and the fire budget.
Any questions for Sue? David?
Nice job.
Thank you, Sue. Now, while we're on,
Go back to meeting every week now, that's right.
while we're on the budget, the chairman sent myself and Sue an email today. He cannot make Thursday night's meeting. Looking at the schedule, it's, David, you're up, you're the second alternate. If you can make it, fine. If not, I'm available. It's totally,
That's this Thursday.
yes. On the, what's the date, Sue?
Let's
15th.
see, the 15th, yep.
If you're available, fine. If not, David, don't worry, I'm available. I can cover it.
If, I don't have my calendar, but if I'm free, I will attend.
Okay, and you can let me know.
I'll coordinate with you.
Great, thank you. All right, so we've covered that one, Sue. We're all set there.
Okay.
Um,
We do have a few items under the town administrator report and then selectmen discussion.
mhm.
I don't see anyone from the public, so I think we can skip over the second public comment.
Yeah, we'll wait towards the end. I'll just try it once more.
Okay.
See what happens. Go ahead.
Your meeting schedule is in your packets for this week. Tuesday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. is your state primary elections. And we're short selectmen, and so we're going to ask,
I think we're okay. If Collis is coming, I'm gonna be there, and I'm gonna come back after.
we need
so-
3 signatures before the, when they
At the end of the
tally,
night.
right.
Right,
And you're going to come
I'll
back?
come back.
Okay, because prior selectman Gross had
I'll be
offered to be a
till-
pro
well, if
tem.
I
You can
can't
do that
get-
now?
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Good job.
Good night.
If I
be all set.
hear everything
Think
else
you'll
comes
be
up,
all
I think I'll be all set. I'll swing back in, that's all.
Okay.
So we should be all set.
Hearing is done at, what, 7?
It's done at 7, yes.
Done at 7. I'm gonna be at that funeral from 6.
I mean, we don't usually really
6:30
start sealing the ballots till 8:30, 9 o'clock. So I mean, there's a,
Well, if something happens and no one's there, the moderator, if you don't appoint someone, the moderator will.
Okay.
If there's you need a third. That's how the law is written. You can, if you know you're not going to be there, you can appoint a pro tem. And Scott Gross said he would be available if
I think we've
anyone.
got it covered anyways.
Okay.
Comes up.
If we need to, we can always give a call.
Yep.
All right. Tuesday, 7 p.m., ZBA. You don't attend that one.
No.
Why is that one in there? Wednesday, 9:14 is Highway Safety Committee.
Yeah.
Alan, you have that one?
Yes, I do.
And Wednesday at 6:30 is HDC.
yep, I got that one.
Mark's got that. And then Thursday at 7 is Budget Committee here. And Pete's unavailable, and Dave will check his schedule. If not, I think the next one on the list is Mark, right?
Correct. Yep,
Okay.
and I'll be available.
All right. Consensus folder tonight includes a thank you letter to Kimberly Peace for her service. Event permits, Crispin's House Crop Walk for Hunger is September 25th, noon to 2. And Goffstown Main Street Giant Pumpkin Weekend is October 15th and 16th. There's a discharge of a lien on map 4, lot 95. An MS1, a right to inter for the Tibbets at Shirley Hill Cemetery, section 3, lots 100-107A. And 4 contracts to accept the highway safety grant.
Motion
Go ahead.
motion to approve the consensus folder.
Motion by Collis, seconded by David.
Yes.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it.
Thank you. For correspondence tonight, you have a letter from David and Eleanor Christie with a request for a stop sign, and I have sent that over to Highway Safety Committee. And that came in late Friday, so they couldn't address it this week, but because they have to do an investigation, but they'll get it in the next one. You also have a thank you letter from Connie Russo of Davignon Street for the stop sign. Or street light, I'm sorry,
Yep,
street light.
streetlight.
Eversource is requesting permission to move a rock at the Glen Lake, it's in the trailer parking area, to get access to a utility pole. Adam met with him. He's okay with it, and they're gonna return it to its place after they do the utility pole work this week.
Could you,
Why is that a selectman's?
And why is it even, I mean, just,
Well, it's town property.
I know, but Adam can just
But
say,
I
well, that's
didn't-
not a big deal.
I don't think
I-
it's a big deal, but
They gotta, they've
just
gotta
wanted
fix
to
the
bring
pole
it to
no
your
matter what,
attention in
right?
case you get any phone calls saying,
That's your job, you handle it.
Sue, do you know where they are with the veg maintenance on the, between Elm Street and the lake, Eversource, where they're moving the trees under the power lines?
no, but when I call them, I can ask them. So they,
Yeah, I'd been working with Martin Bean from Eversource, but he has left Eversource. So I'm not sure who's picked up the project, but we had marked some trees to be taken, so as not to deforest the whole area
okay, and it was between where and where?
between the street and the lake.
Street and lake, okay.
Remember, we did the,
Yeah.
the island between the parking lot and the street, and then moved on the other side to do that. There's some big pines in there.
The person I'm dealing with is John Casey. I'll talk to him and see if he can tell me who took Martin's place.
Tom, I said hi.
Oh, do you know him?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Used vehicle for sale notice is at 7E. I don't think you have to take any action on that. I just want you to be aware of that. Appointments to Cable Committee. This you do have to take action on. Scott Gross, Barbara Duty, Jason Cody, and Michael Prescassa.
You have a motion, Sue?
Mm-hmm.
Motion to accept for the appointments for the cable committee, as Sue just read. Be looking for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor by Adam and Collis to accept the names mentioned. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Ayes have it.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Building permit on Class 6 Road, map 24, lot 71A. This is down Surratt Road. At 7G, you have a memo from the town planner regarding the whole history of this. This had been approved by the planning board way back when. But this is for an after-the-fact building permit because they expanded and put a second floor on without getting a building permit. They have signed and recorded a waiver of municipal liability form at the Registry of Deeds, and Planning Board has reviewed and has no comment.
Motion?
Motion to accept the permit.
So listen, after the fact, they already put the second floor on, and they've been before, they've done improvements before, they knew the process.
Yeah, well, the first one was, I think, they were condominiumizing two houses on one lot and sharing a septic system. So that whole site plan was approved by the planning board, so that was a site plan thing, but they didn't think they needed to come back for the second floor.
So they've gone through all the procedures, right?
Yes, so now the board has to vote to issue an after-the-fact building permit for that second floor addition. And it's not supposed to be a living area, it's supposed to be a family room.
Will that be inspected by,
Mark will keep an eye on it. If it's anything different, he will come back to the board.
So there's no increase in septic loading,
Right,
because it's not a bedroom.
right.
The requirement for it not to be a bedroom.
Yep. So you can make the motion.
I still have, okay, I'll make that motion. Go ahead and allow this permit on a class 4, class 6 road.
Provided it's not a bedroom.
Right.
Yeah, I'd like to have the code enforcement officer inspect the premises to make sure it is not being used
you
as a
can make that
bedroom.
as part of the motion if you'd like.
Yeah, I would.
Okay. So we'll go with
An
Alan
inspection
and
by the
second.
building inspector?
Sure, you're gonna make an inspection, but, who's gonna inspect, who's gonna get in the house 10 years down the road, 5 years down the
I
road? Nobody.
understand, but
But it will be in the record.
at least
Be on the record.
let them know
Yeah.
that we're taking notice.
All right,
I've
that's
played
fine.
this game way too long.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I know what you're
So the
saying.
motion was made by Alan, seconded by Collis, with an inspection to follow, correct, Sue?
Right.
All those,
Provided it's not, there's no bedroom,
No
and an
bedrooms.
inspection by the building inspector.
all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it.
Thank you. We just heard back from the school, and our deliberative session has to be between the first two Saturdays of February, and we usually have it on Wednesday night. And they have acknowledged that it is available on Wednesday, February 8th, with a snow date on Thursday, February 9th. I just need a motion to set that as our deliberative session.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Collis, seconded by Alan for the deliberative session. That's at the high school?
Yes.
Correct? Okay, time 7 o'clock
7 o'clock.
on February 8th, and the snow day will be the 9th. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it.
Thank you.
Committee reports, I think we're up to now, Sue, correct?
Yes, we are. We're at
Sewer
8A.
Commission?
Sewer Commission met, but didn't have all the information they needed to pull their budget together. That's why you don't have the final budget from them yet. They wanted some historical numbers before they could really get a sense for putting together the budget going forward.
Okay,
That was it, really.
so we'll hold off on that one. The Economic Development Committee, we met. If you go to the 8A tab, we've been working with flow chart checklist, economic development strategies. We've talked with storefronts, other businesses, the I-293 exit 6 and 7. The biggest thing, if you flip the page, we're looking at trying to develop this. It's called a site plan applications process. We've heard quite a bit of, I'll say, unhappiness, the way things probably have
Grumbling?
grumbling, yeah, have been run, and we've kind of come up with this site plan application here to pass forward, to move on forward, and it's for your review to look at it. You'll notice there's a checkoff sheet. It goes to the ZBA notice, wetlands, topographic, drainage studies, sediment, erosion control, traffic studies. There are several places where, you know, it gives you a checkoff, whether it's required, not required, notes, or things like that. So we're looking to implement this. I guess it'll be brought forth to the, it'll be brought forth to the planning board, right, Sue? To the planning board, and if it gets our blessing, our recommendation to move forward, this is probably a major step that we can implement to try to alleviate some of the...
Streamline the process.
Yeah, alleviate some of the issues we've had and streamline the process. So if you guys have reviewed it, or you want to wait for a full board for Peter, it's totally up to you.
I have a question. That's the page that has a site plan application process, the steps 1 through 5.
Yep.
And at the bottom it says open for business. What does that mean? Is that some sort of off the cuff?
Yeah, I think so.
You know, I would not be inclined to put that on there, since one of
Yeah, we can remove-
since
yeah,
one
we
of them says deny the application.
Yeah.
If that's the case, then you're not opening for business, so.
Yeah, we can remove that.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think it
wanna
was
see 'em
meant to
open-
go in that
believe me, I
column
wanna see
under
folks
approved.
open for business, but
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we had quite a bit of discussion about it. I mean, we all know the issues that we've been having. We all know the problems have probably slowed us down a little bit in growth in town, and where, as the Economic Development Committee, we want to try to streamline the process. We want to try to move the process forward so that, you know, things will start to move easier and be easier in town when things are done. So it's basically up to, do we need a motion, Sue? Or how would you want to present this to them if we were to do it tonight?
To pass this on for comment and review by the planning board?
Correct. Yes.
You just let them look at it, will you?
I mean, there's no, this is not an action item for us. This is a
No.
planning board process, so they're the
So we'll
ones,
just
pass it
basically
on to
say that
them.
we've given it our okay and
no comments or
no comments, move on.
One comment.
one comment.
And the other thing was, the schedule to, pick somebody or plan somebody, Sue, do you remember? We talked to you about that. We need to get, let's see here, if it's on here. Let me get my notes. Bear with me for 1 minute. let's see. I'm gonna have to pass on that because I thought Derek had given me a copy of it. We need to, see it on here.
Oh, right here, Economic Development Strategy.
yeah,
Council members
yeah.
request Chairman LeMay discuss the ad hoc committee at the upcoming Board of Selectmen meeting.
Basically, the council discussed process of developing economic development strategy plans. The Board of Selectmen's 2016 goals included goals of creating an ad hoc committee, compromise of staff of a Board of Selectmen, Planning Board, economic development representation. Basically, we're looking, if any one of the members of the board would like to sit on that, or if you want me to sit on it, I can sit on it. It's-
Why don't I develop our ad hoc committees according to our rules of procedure, usually have a mission statement
Yep.
and a charter. Why don't I develop that for the next meeting?
Okay,
And we can vote on it next week?
all right, that'll work. Thank you, Sue.
I missed that, sorry, I didn't see that in there.
Yeah, no, it was there. I just slipped my mind.
I noticed on here, Mark, that there was talk about the I-293 exit 6 and 7 planning study.
Yep, yep. We had,
Someone, and I don't remember who, told me that they heard something about that trucking restriction may be
yes,
lifted.
the trucking restriction, good point. Who could you check with in the city of Manchester? We heard at that meeting that section between the towers and
Yeah.
the restriction had been lifted. And I don't believe anybody in this town had known or knows about it.
The signs are still up, so I sent an email off to DPW Director in Manchester,
Okay.
asking him if he heard about any decision to lift that restriction.
As far as the I-293 alternatives, I mean, I wouldn't trust that.
No,
I
the
wouldn't- I wouldn't-
trucking
Yeah, I
restriction.
understand that.
But it was at that
I
meeting.
understand that.
heard
One
someone
of
said it.
the alternatives was to avoid that, so that we weren't held hostage by Manchester's whims as to whether they're imposed or not. Just because they lift it, doesn't mean they're going to impose it next year, or 5 years, or 10 years
Right.
down the road. What we're trying to do is look at an alternative, the exit 6 and 7, that would bring traffic in beyond the town line, so that we wouldn't have to deal with Manchester's restrictions, or not.
Is that
So-
what-
Are we still gonna be,
Someone-
but are we gonna actually dump off into Goffstown, or are we gonna dump off into?
Goffstown.
There's two plans for exit 7. And one of the plans has the road that comes off the exit will terminate at the present intersection of Straw and Gulfstown Road in Manchester. And I presented drawings to the planning board on the 9th, showing both of those options.
So it's gonna come Straw Road and the back road is where it's gonna connect?
At that point, it's called Gulfstown Road.
Right.
In
No, so
Man-
that's
'cause
where,
it's in
that's where I think it
Manchester.
went connecting right there.
Yes.
And that's where the trucking restriction
I bet that
is.
won't fly, because that sounds like an awful expensive loop right there.
What's right there?
It sounds like a very expensive loop. I bet that one won't fly. I bet they're gonna move up the road.
Well,
Section come into
Not a good
it.
intersection to get off there, so,
I'm going to slightly take the opposite opinion.
surprise me.
During, there's a good possibility exit 7 will be done first in 8 years from now.
Most certainly, because, not to interrupt, but that's gonna be the overflow while they're doing exit 6.
Having that done first will take the overflow off, or the burden off of 6 while it is under construction. Drivers coming from our direction towards Immiskeet Circle will then be able, if there is a connection at Straw and Gulfstown, they will be able to bail out and pick up the toll road at that point. And so it's estimated that 1/3 of the traffic, even after it's done, 1/3 of all the traffic leaving from our direction towards Amesgate would eventually always use exit 7. And it would relieve the burden on exit 6.
On the exit, I-293, 6 and 7, on the notes that were put on from that meeting, they measured amounts of vehicles that travel in a day, and, I mean, some numbers were up as high as 400, weren't they, David, if I remember correctly? I mean, there was a significant amount of traffic.
Oh, I think it'd be great if it happens, but I just don't put much stock in what they tell you.
One of the criteria of which final design is going to be picked is the economic development of the region. So I was very pleased to see that as a criteria for the state to put a check mark against.
And, I mean, our economic
And
development
they
committee.
specifically mentioned our industrial zoned areas
Yep.
in Gulfstown.
Yep. So, we'll keep our fingers crossed.
Say bring it, we'll see what happens.
Okay.
Next one was planning board.
I attended the planning board on 9 September, Thursday. They did, had a full briefing on the CIP by the chairman, Tim Redmond, and the commission motioned to pass it on to us without any changes. And of course, we're hearing the results of that as the department chiefs brief us.
Correct.
The second item was a continuation of a review looking at map 20, lot 16. That is presently a real estate office and then a single-family home, and the concept is to convert a present barn into a single-bay automobile repair shop. The board had many comments for the applicant, and at that point, they want the plan completely redrawn, so it would reduce the number of footnotes on the plan as to what would be changed. So that decision will be continued to a future meeting. And then the last one was map 15, lot 166-1. That is on Laureate Street. And the issue was a house, a duplex, has recently been constructed. And the concept, when the building permit was done, there would be a single driveway going towards the house, and then it would branch off left and right, like the letter Y, and terminate at the garage doors. Turned out that there wasn't enough distance between the road right-of-way and the garage doors to do all this maneuvering. So the applicant wanted two separate driveways. Unfortunately, they would be closer than the required 40 feet apart, and so that required a planning board conditional use permit, and that was approved. They also finally looked at the item we just decided tonight about a building permit being allowed on a Class 6 road at 83 Surratt Road, adding the second floor to an existing house with no changes in the footprint of the foundation.
That's it for that.
Can I go back to the sewer commission for a
Yes,
minute? So there was some discussion at the sewer commission about workshops and whether or not they need to be legally public noticed, whether you need to take minutes, and all of those other things. It's always been my understanding that if it's a workshop where there's no votes taken, there's no action taken, you can advertise it as a workshop, you can talk informally, you don't need to take minutes. Is that correct or not?
That's not my understanding,
Okay, well,
especially when it deals with the topic of budgets.
of what?
Budgets?
Oh, yeah, I understand that, yeah. But if it's a workshop on, like, the sewer use ordinance. They
Yeah.
were looking for some direction. And I said I would ask and
I will,
get some clarification, so if you wouldn't mind.
I've asked it before, but not on workshops. I've asked it about subcommittees, because this question has come up again for subcommittees, and subcommittees are considered part of the board and therefore subject to notice and minutes. So I can ask it about workshops, but we've always treated a workshop also as a meeting because there's a quorum of the board.
That's fine, if we can just clarify it so I
I
can get
can-
some
yeah.
direction. I told them I would ask.
I can send that off to NHMA Legal to get a free legal opinion on that.
Because if you do look at the tab 8, just prior to it, does say there's a sewer use ordinance, so there's talk about reviewing the sewer use ordinance in its draft form and making suggested changes. So that's how the topic arose.
Oh, I thought it arose regarding the budget.
No, it was more the sewer,
I was like,
well, the
yeah, that
budget.
should be public.
Yeah, no, but not the budget one, the sewer use ordinance
Okay.
issue. Thank you.
Will do.
New business, there was nothing submitted, I presume that's still the way it
Right.
is. Under the old business, we'll go to the action matrix.
And the only change on here on Grassmere Town Hall is that we did get a quote from A.W. Therian for the, to repair the parts of the slate roof, $1,650, and that will be taken to the next HDC meeting for them to decide how to go forward on that.
That'll be this week coming up.
Um,
We'll strike the HR matrix.
Yeah, we can get
item.
rid of that now, that's done. Actually, the Bernardville one is ongoing, you want to take that off too?
Yeah,
Yeah, you might as well.
It was ongoing, but we had another one the other night, Sue.
Really?
Yes, we did.
Can I ask a question on the Grassmere Town Hall? Are we getting closer and closer to having that thing finally finished, or is it?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, it's all painted, it's wrapping up pretty good.
So all we got left is just the, so is the roof repair, so what else is going on besides that? I mean,
a fire alarm and sprinkler system, let's see.
The-
We're,
It's done.
and the newel post has to be done, and the fire extinguishers.
And the fire extinguishers is
We're
what
waiting for the quote too from the electrician
What's the
on
septic
the
system?
emergency lighting.
Was approved? Septic system approved? or-
Approved, but the board hasn't made a decision whether or not to use, what I anticipate to be surplus this year, to do that this year, or to, we had some bids on that, to go out or have it done in-house. But in-house, I'm not sure they could do it this
Have
year,
they bid
they're
it
out
out?
straight.
Has it been bid out?
We haven't bid out, we
Oh,
got
is it?
budget-type quotes.
I don't know how this board feels, but I think Adam's got a full plate. I would rather see it be bidded out. I mean,
Absolutely, because for secondlies, that's really not their forte.
Yeah.
That's not what they do, so.
I mean, I would, personally, I would rather see somebody who does it every day of the week. There's no mistakes, no nothing. I mean, granted, Adam and the boys do a very good job, but where do we draw the line? Where do we make the changes or the stops?
You got somebody to fall back on, too, if you
Yeah.
have a problem with it.
Well, let me highlight the lines that could possibly fund it this year, that we know
Okay.
we'll have a surplus in.
Yep.
And bring that back to you.
Is it, okay, that being said, can we put it out to bid?
Mhm.
You guys all in favor of that?
I can have our RFP written up
Correct,
for
please?
the next meeting?
Yep,
That's
yes,
good.
yep.
So you'd like to do it this year,
I,
rather than budget
Yeah,
for
get this thing finished.
Yeah.
You know, we got that much more, let's get this thing done.
Yep.
It's been stretched out for, 25 years?
Septic system RFP for 2016.
Planning board, that's an ongoing thing. And Mill Street, we're gonna budget for the survey in 2017. And working on the policy on Class 6 roads, building permits on Class 6 roads.
so once Grassmere's all done, is there going to be some sort of policies and procedures for how that space is utilized? And, there's lots and lots of details. And now that
Yes.
we've got it, we want to use it.
Yes.
Use it, I might actually pay for
No,
itself.
I know the
Pay
historic-
itself.
The historic,
Yeah, go ahead, when you-
sorry, go ahead.
Should there be a budget item addressing all the furniture needs of the second floor in order to make that a functional hall?
Well, I don't know what direction we're going with that. I know there was talk at one point in time to do like what other towns did with their old opera houses once they were ready to be opened and ready for business, that some towns have set up nonprofit organizations to take it over. Gets out of the budget, they take it over, whatever revenues they see from the use of it, they use to maintain it. And it would revert back to the town should that nonprofit
That would be
And therefore, they wouldn't have the regulations, so if they wanted to use it for a wedding and have alcoholic beverages, they could, because it's not under town policy, it's under their policy. My understanding is that's the direction it was going, but that was after the addition was put on for handicap accessibility. And we're not there yet, and that was gonna be a private-public type of capital campaign to raise money for that.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think ahead. Once the building's done, now it's open for business, whatever
Yeah, it's
business
not
it is.
similar.
How's it gonna be used, and
Yeah.
what are the guidelines and regulations?
And that board of directors for the nonprofit, if that's the direction we go in,
I
they
like-
would oversee it.
I like that approach to it, because it gets us, we don't belong in that business, I don't want us to be in that business.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're not liable.
Because parking's gonna be a nightmare when somebody wants to come in and they wanna hold a wedding reception there, where is everybody gonna park? So let somebody else do it.
You have to bus them in.
Yes, sir.
Sue, I just want the rest of the board to be informed, should we anticipate looking at Gulfstown Junior Baseball issue for their parking lot and access through the town land next
Yes,
session?
Yes, at the next session, I have that on my list upstairs.
Just
They
so
need
you-
an easement
you
from
know
the
that
town to cross over town
It's
land
getting
to
close for
access the
them
parking area.
to present an idea to us.
I can schedule that for next week.
Motion adjourned.
No, we got
Oh, yeah.
non-public?
Oh, yeah.
No, we don't.
Oh, no, non-public.
Only if needed. I don't need it.
Motion adjourned.
Motion adjourned?
Second.
Okay, motion by Alan, seconded by Collis to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. This will conclude the business for the Board of Selectmen this evening.
Leave this in here. I don't need to carry it with me.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.